All right. So again, thank you everyone for joining. We're super excited to launch today's roundtable. Hope you've been joining us throughout the year. We've had a bunch of different topics from our roundtables to our workshops. The roundtables are our chance to highlight the successes of you, right? So you're our clients. You are using the platform. You are showcasing the best ways to use PropFuel. And we're excited to bring that to everyone else. I know a lot of my clients, I've been hyping this up like, hey, you've got certifications. Come learn how other clients are using PropFuel to guide their members through that certification journey. So we've got the rest of our CS team here today as well. We've got Clara, Ashley, and Bruna. Those that are Meg's clients. She's on vacation this week, so we let her have her time off, obviously. But we're excited to showcase a variety of different campaigns. We're going to go through the whole certifications life cycle, right? So from acquisition all the way to even elapsed win back. Like Dave said, there's a lot of components of certifications that tie directly into kind of the same membership components. So throughout today's presentation, right, we encourage you to speak up, share some insights. Feel free to use a chat, use a raise hand feature. A couple of the clients will be speaking on their own behalf to talk about their campaigns. So we're excited for them to share as well. And with that, while I'm getting everything set up, I'd love for everyone to share kind of your stickiest point of your certifications. What is that one part of the certification journey that just makes you go, ugh? If you want to drop it in the chat, that'd be great. Would love to hear what everyone has to share. So again, just what's that one point of your certification journey that you just can't learn to love? Making certificates. Oh gosh. Yeah. I hope you're not doing that manually, Erica. Continuing education, making sure designees understand their requirements and apply them in the system. Yeah, that's really big, Kristen. Right? And a lot of times people don't tell you they don't know, and they're just gonna keep pretending like they know everything. Alexis, you've got a multi-step process for applying. All right. We've got deadline communication with certificates, the renewal cycle. Yep. All right. Scheduling their exam, okay, and chasing them down for renewals. Awesome. All right, folks, keep sharing in the chat, and obviously the chat is open to everyone. So as you're seeing other responses, feel free to chime in and share with everyone else. But let's go ahead and get started. So again, certification experience, right? So everything that you do in PropFuel, we can tie it back to some kind of component of the membership lifecycle. So most of you here probably have some kind of certification process that your organization is currently running. So we're going to talk about kind of the four-step process of this life cycle. First being gauging interest, right? So as you get new members, understanding are they even interested in your certifications? And if so, how do we get them to make that first step to enroll in that certification process? Second thing that we'll talk about is the steps through that education journey. So as they're going through, right, are they taking the right courses? Are they scheduling their exams? Are they doing the things they need to do to get to that point of earning that certification? We'll talk a little bit about how to celebrate those accomplishments. So not only kind of pushing them to that certification, but also allowing them to understand this isn't the end. Once they have achieved that certification, the what's next for them. And then lastly, obviously, and kind of most importantly, is renewing the certifications. So with that, oh, sorry, I'm gonna go ahead and, all right. So what are the key benefits of using PropFuel for your certification journey? So obviously, as you know, with PropFuel, we get you real-time insights, and in this case, into the readiness and intent of your members. So let's say, how are they feeling about the process? Do they feel comfortable? Do they know what is required of them as they're continuing through that certification journey? We can automate and personalize the nudges. So I know a couple of you put in the chat, right? Hey, let's just get the right messaging to them at the right time. So PropFuel allows you to do that by, cluing into some of those key components of the data that you have on those members, whether that be, how many courses they've completed, or if they've completed all the courses, kind of the what's next step for them. And then lastly, let's re-engage maybe those unengaged. So some people, right, they kind of go through. I know the last association I worked at, we had members sometimes took them up to 10 years to finish that certification. It just totally depends on that individual. Some people are very motivated, want to jump right into it and get everything done in that first year of membership. And some people, it just takes time. But we want to make sure that we don't allow them to slip through those cracks. So we're going to make sure that we continually connect with those folks as they're going through that process and making sure that they feel comfortable in what's next for them. All right. So, my favorite saying, and if you're one of my clients, you've probably heard me say this, there's a blueprint for that. So, we want to make your jobs as easy as possible. A lot of us say, hey, PropFuel is kind of your member engagement assistant. Let PropFuel do a lot of the work for you through these blueprints. So, if you're in PropFuel and you're ever building from a blueprint, you're going to notice we have the certification tab. So you've got options here, kind of listing, the main ones out. Obviously, acquisition, like we talked about, getting them into the certification process, engaging them along the process, that renewal cycle, and then a lapsed membership kind of win back, right? So, hey, if your membership is lapsing, that might mean your certification is going to go inactive. And what does that mean for that individual? So, again, what we always recommend, start with a blueprint, see where that lands you, and then from there you can decide kind of any individual edits that you'd like to make from there on forward. And first off, Anastasia, I'm going to go to you. So we have Anastasia from the Association of Rehabilitation Nurses going to talk to us a little bit about that engagement from the start, right? So as soon as your members join, what's the first step? Anastasia, you want to take it over?
Yes, thank you all for having me. It's great to be here. I'm obsessed with PropFuel. I will talk to anybody who will listen about PropFuel, so it's an honor to be here. They have really transformed our entire journey. So when I first started, we really never had a member journey. So we had sent them a link to a SurveyMonkey. So we were asking them, why did you join the organization via SurveyMonkey? We were doing nothing with those results. Our organization is a little bit interesting because our certification portion of our organization is our main revenue generator. We have 12,000 certified rehab nurses, and we only have about 4,300 members. So there's a major disconnect in audiences of who I'm talking to, who I'm reaching. And it's really difficult to segment those on my own. So especially when we're using tools like SurveyMonkey. So what I started to do was really look at those results. Needless to say, the majority of people were joining the association for specifically certification. So what I had come up with my great account manager, Meg, who is not on this call, but I would like to give her a hello. We came up with a 12-month touch point for a membership journey. So we started this brand new member journey. First starts with, why are you here? And that is where over 40% are telling us that they're joining for this certification. So with that group, instead of just never speaking to them about certification ever again, we started to build a nurture campaign from that. So we put everybody that said that they're specifically here for the certification into a nurture campaign from the new member welcome journey that we built. So I don't know what comes next here. Okay, so let me see. I'm trying to zoom in here. Okay, so then what was really interesting about the new membership welcome that we started, or the nurture campaign. So they're in the nurture campaign, and within that, we asked them if they would like to sign up for 5 quiz questions. Now, within this nurture campaign, we're already pushing them to different, just different products, different things that they can buy just for their prep exams, just really pushing them to not just get to the exam portion, but how to prepare themselves as well. So it also helps with a lot of product sales in the meantime. So within this, I thought, well, we have all these prep tests. Why don't we offer them to do a 5 quiz question? So we built this 5 quiz question that they can do, so which branches from the nurture campaign, so that they can go into this new area where they'll be fed 5 weeks of questions, 1 question per week. Well, then I decided to ask Meg, would this be something that we can also put on our website? So we actually have transferred not only within the nurture campaign, this process of these quiz questions, we also have a link on our website where people can sign up and do these quizzes. So that was also feeding into almost an acquisition portion of our of everything. So not only are they being fed through the new member welcome into the nurture, they're also coming to our website directly, signing up and joining this nurture, and then will eventually be put into the nurture campaign. And then they will skip the question if they have already done the quiz question. So that won't incorporate them into that. But what we were finding out is that people were going crazy over these quiz questions. We were getting negative feedback, and then only the negative parts were that they weren't getting enough questions, so they wanted more. So that's also another opportunity for me to sell this to our education department as well and say, like, how can we incorporate more of these quizzes? How can we monetize this almost in a way where we could be feeding this into different ways? So not only was it building this acquisition, it was almost like a revenue idea generator and more. So this really evolved. And to the point where people that already had their certification were signing up for these quizzes. So then we had to add in a question that said, are you already certified? Because they were getting put into the nurture campaign, which they
Oh
should
no.
not have been at all. So people were just enjoying it that much. And we had over 1,300 people sign up for these quiz questions as part of this nurture campaign that we were doing.
That's awesome. And I just love, right? Like I tell clients this all the time. You might not have an idea of where this is gonna go. Like you start a campaign and you're like, this is what the campaign's about. And then you're like, wait, this is really working. Like people are really enjoying this. And like you said, Anastasia, like then, hey, it's an acquisition and now it's a maybe a revenue driver for additional types of quiz and practice questions. So I really love that you've just kind of allowed that opportunity to open up for, just the sky's the limit for campaigns here in PropFuel.
It is. It's great. And these are things that I just work with Meg. And I'm like, what if we did this? And I think that that's what's great about your account managers as well, is that I might have the what and what I want to do, and they don't make me worry about the how, and we just get it done. And then we worry about how it all comes together in the end, which is great for somebody like me who's, just working really primarily solo in the marketing area. So that really does help me in these departments.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you, Anastasia. Any questions for Anastasia on how they kind of ran their campaign? Just checking the chat here. All right.
It
Quizzes
says
are
quizzes
exam.
are exam prep.
Yeah. Anastasia, do you want to expand on that one? Or Kristen, do you have any kind of follow-up on that?
Yeah.
I think I got it. I think
Okay.
what you're saying, Anastasia, is that and I'm guessing here that maybe you offer maybe a exam prep or practice exam, but the quizzes are sort of like a small taste of that to get
Exactly.
involvement.
Yes. So I just went to my education department and I said, can I have a list of some questions that maybe I could use from these prep tests? And they gave me a bunch and we just selected five. And then that's what we did as a teaser, ultimately, to buy more prep questions, but also get excited about taking the exam and learning that maybe, hey, I could actually pass this because I know this information.
Okay,
Awesome.
thank you. That's really valuable. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey,
And
Brett,
Anastasia, yeah, go ahead, Dave.
I don't want to, forgive me. I see this and I get in webinar mode because I just want to tell stories. Two examples I'd really like to share if I could, and I'm
Yeah,
gonna
go
make it
for it.
super, super quick. NYACP, New York something something physicians. Somebody help me. NYACP. Oh yeah, anyway, doctors. They um uh, they do the same thing with quizzing, but they make it's not centered around a certification. It's more a way to challenge all of the physicians in their membership. And so once a week, I think it's weekly, they put a quiz question in through PropFuel. And I remember years ago, they were one of our very first association clients years ago, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, they came to me with this. I was their client success manager, and I remember talking them through this. I was like, I don't think that's a good idea. You're going to send the entire membership of physicians a quiz question, and you're going to get a fraction of people to answer. They loved it. And now it's turned into one of the things they love most about PropFuel. They take the answer and they put it into their newsletter. And what you just described, Anastasia, made me think that this can go even beyond certifications into just broader member engagement, newslettery sort of stuff.
Yeah.
The other example I want to share is ASAE in their onboarding program says, hey, what are your goals? And one of the options is getting my CAE. And so I think if I remember correctly, the number of new members that are interested in getting their CAE is 13%. So they take that and they put those people into another campaign that's put on ice for 3 months, and 3 months later, that campaign wakes up and it says, "Hey, 3 months ago, you told us you were interested in getting your CAE. How's it going?" Now, of course, there's a lot of directions you can go in that. Where are you in the process? And then based on where they are, you could direct them and help them in different ways. But anyway, that's one way ASAE is using this methodology as well.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Dave. And then Anastasia, there's a couple of questions follow up. I do want to get through to some other client examples. So Anastasia, if you don't mind, if you can help maybe answer some of the questions in the chat. I hate to kind of distract you from the conversation, but some really good follow up there for you, if you don't mind. And we'll be back with Anastasia. She's got a example for a renewal of what they do for their campaign as well. So we'll hear more from them. But like I said, we're gonna jump a little bit forward here. Clara, if you don't mind, I know this is your client here. The
Mhm.
next one is very similar. We've got a kind of acquisition, uncovering intent. So Clara, you want to take this one?
Yeah, of course. This is the International Foundation of Employee Benefit Plans. And we actually have Becky Block from the team who built this campaign in PropFuel. So I'm going to have her actually speak to it
Awesome.
instead.
All right, Becky, let's hear it.
Sure. So I'm from the International Foundation of Employee Benefit Plans, and we have a designation that actually has two minor designations as a part of it. So it's a five-course designation. Um, so CEBS, if you take all five courses, you get your CEBS. If you take three courses that focus on group benefits, you get your GBA retirement plans, you get your RPA, just to kind of give you guys a brief overview of it. One of the things we've been experiencing is actually converting inquiries. So people who come to us and say, hey, I'm really interested in your program. We might meet them at trade shows. They might come in through our website. They might attend one of our complimentary webinars. But we've been having problems keeping them engaged. So what we decided to do was to take PropFuel and create this sequence campaign and run them through a series of three questions, just trying to find out where they are. And in the process, it's worked incredibly well for us so far. And it worked so far it's been working great. We've actually went ahead and created the same campaign for our Canadian folks. So right now, pretty much let's see, it's three questions we ask. All we're trying to do is determine if they're interested still in obtaining their CEBS, GBA, or RPA, figure out what designation that they're interested in. And then if they have any obstacles that are kind of standing in their way. So we've gone ahead, we've had really good conversions so far. We just put our second group through this, just from the sounds of listening to Anastasia. Sounds like we started from the back. This is probably our most prestigious designation. Specifically, we have a couple other certification programs, but this is really where we point everybody to go as the very last type of education designation they can get through the foundation. So overall, we started a little bit backwards. We didn't pursue members. We actually went for inquiries who could be members. Many are not. So we started a little bit backwards and we've been incredibly successful. Now we're actually moving over to looking at students who have one course left to get their CEBS. So we're going to now create a campaign to target them as well.
Awesome. And Becky, I pointed this out too because I loved it when I saw it. You added a tag to your contacts because you have an option, right? Now is not the right time. And I love that you did this because this is again one of those like I don't know where I might use this, but it could be useful in the future, right? So if someone tells you, now is not the right time for me, I mean, opens up the door for future opportunities. And so what Becky and Clara did through this campaign is they added a tag to the contact. And you can see down below here, it's basically CEBS inquiry suppressed until spring 25, right? So it's kind of that like, all right, we know they maybe are interested, but let's not reach out to them till later. So again, I know that campaign hasn't been built yet, but hey, maybe one day you're going to be able to reach out to those and just kind of continue that conversation. And what better way than to kind of conversational engagement, right? They ask a question, we're going to respond, and we just want to continue that throughout. So, Becky, awesome job here. Thank you so much for sharing. Anything else, Clara or Becky, from the kind of build standpoint or lessons learned?
Yeah, just don't take no for an answer. So we will definitely be doing a follow-up campaign to chase those people who have said that they're not ready yet. So hopefully we can get them to convert later on down the road.
Love it. It's like one of those where it's like you can do a yes no question, right? But if you do multiple choice, if it's not no, maybe there's something down the
Yeah,
line.
that's not an immediate no. That's a not a great time, not a no.
I love it. Thank you, Becky. And then obviously, again, I love all the chat going back and forth here. Feel free to continue to ask questions of each client that's sharing their examples. I'm sure they would love to continue to speak on their campaigns for those. But thanks again, Becky. All right, so the next one we have here is the Apartment Association of Greater Orlando. So Ashley, I think, right,
Yep,
Turquoise,
Turquoise
you're
is
talking?
here to
All
talk all
right,
about it.
perfect.
Hi, everyone. So yes, we are the Apartment Association of Greater Orlando. So we are the local affiliate to the state and national. So with all of our members, they are multifamily professionals. So they get a three-way membership. So they have our membership here at local level, state, and then national. At our national, they have the certifications of CAM, which is Certified Apartment Manager. And we are a big advocate on getting our local members to get certified. So we're basically the middleman. We're the one that hosts the class, but they get certified through the national. So so when I partnered with our VP of Education, we're like, we need to keep nurturing our students. We see them take the certification and they don't even test. So how can we make them test? So Ashley has done so well in training me in other campaigns. I did this one all on my own, which I'm really proud of. We launched it with like, hey, we acknowledge that you did all the classes. We want to congratulate you on that. But you still haven't scheduled your test. So we want to ask them, did you schedule it? If not, what are your struggles in testing? Is it that you don't have time or you don't feel prepared or you simply just don't know? When they say yes, I'm all set, we congratulate them. We put a little GIF and we're like, woohoo! And then it also triggers an email from the VP of Education saying, I'm so glad that you're ready. And if you need any study material, here's all the study material. So along with their journey of selecting yes, you get a personal congratulations from our VP of Education. And then from the why you haven't scheduled your exam, we really want to see what their pain points are. And that also reflects on us. Do we need to have a cram here, hosted here, and invite all of our members like, hey, if you still don't feel prepared for this exam, let's go ahead and do like an extra study day where we get an instructor to really build that confidence. So that really was an indicator if we need to add that to the schedule of a study group. And then also or they don't just simply don't know how. So is that tutorials? Do we need to do a video tutorial to see how you can schedule it? Is because it all has to be proctored, but that's a whole nother thing. But we want to know where that pain point is. And then we also had another check-in. It was just like, I know you've been studying for the exam, but we want to know how prepared you are. How do you feel confident? So basically, with each check-ins, they get a personalized email saying like, how are you feeling? I'm here to help you if you have any questions. And honestly, our classes, this past spring, this is the spring campaign, it was 11 people, but I'm looking at our analytics right now. We had an engagement rate of 82%. And I was like, wow, like that's actually really good that they actually performed on this. And we also had a response rate of 42. We did about 4 check-ins. They loved the practice questions. So I think we're gonna implement that practice questions to build that confidence more in their journey. We also set it 2 weeks after they take the test, just to like catch them like, hey, 2 weeks, you're not thinking about the classes anymore, but let's make sure you test. So we're doing it from every 30, 60, and then 40 days before their test window expires. We're like, hey, don't forget. If not, you're going to get charged. But we try to follow them within those 6 months of you need to take your test. It's been really great. I'm looking forward to learning more about our members' journey, what works best for them, and keep the momentum going. And PropFuel has helped us with that. So thank you.
Thank you, Turquoise. And Turquoise didn't mention it, but the question that she asked, how you're feeling about, how you feeling ahead of your exam, they actually asked it twice. So they asked it at the initial onset, and then they asked it again afterwards. And there was definitely a shift in the kind of sentiment to be a little bit more confident in their abilities. So, right, hey, it's just again those pulse checks. Let's just make sure you're feeling great. And I love that kind of personalization that just we're here for you, right? And I think that's important for every association, every organization to just keep in the back of your mind, right? Yes, they're just one member out of your entire member group, but to them, they're everything. So like they want to feel like they are the one and only member. And this is such an easy way to do that. So I'm just super happy to hear, Turquoise, that you're
Thank
feeling really
you.
great about these campaigns. Obviously, as you said, you've got a lot of great success through those. So great job.
Thank you.
All right. Perfect. So we'll go ahead and keep on moving forward here. So next one here that we have is from the Construction Specifications Institute. And I think, Ashley, did you want to speak to this one or do you want me to hop in?
Yeah, we can tag team it.
Okay, cool.
So what you're seeing here is the kind of engagement portion of the campaign, but just like a lot of the ones that you've seen today, they ran two parallel campaigns. They had one that was what we called an activation campaign. So it's, are you planning to earn a certification this year? CSI has a number of different certifications and you can take them out of order. It's kind of just depending on what you want to certify in. So they pulled anyone who doesn't have all four of their certifications and pretty much said, hey, what do you want to take this round? So that was the activation. Once they did register, then they went into the engagement that you're seeing here. So again, just like the many that you've seen, they did the pop quizzes, saw a huge response rate. And they're just continuing to do those every single round. Based on, so Sarah in the chat had asked earlier, what do you do after they answer the question? This was a perfect example of, based on how somebody scored, they pushed them over to different resources and kind of talked to them a little bit differently. So if somebody didn't get any of them right, they said, oh, well, we've still got time. You're fine. Here's all of the resources that you should dig into. If somebody did really well, they said, you're killing it, but here's how you can kind of level up. And push them to different paid resources, some free things. Their chapters run a lot of different study groups, so pushing people into study groups. So just a great way to make it fun for the member, but then also get them engaged in all the resources.
Yeah, and I just have to say, I personally I love when people add the GIFs into the landing pages. It's just I grew up on BuzzFeed, so whenever I see GIFs, I'm like, yes, that's what I want to see. And so I mean, it's easier said than done. If any of you all want to meet with us and talk about adding GIFs, we're happy to do it. There's a time and a place for everything, but hey, these are fun little opportunities to add that little bit of excitement to the messaging as well. But yeah, I mean, I think I don't know the exact percentages here, but same kind of ideas Turquoise was saying, like a lot of great engagement with these pop quizzes, right? Just recognize that first one you send out, they might be a little confused, like, I don't know what this is. I've never seen this before. But as they get more, or if you have them kind of opting in to receiving those, you're going to start seeing a lot of engagement. And it's just a great way to kind of keep them in tuned. Like Ashley said, they've got all the resources listed out here to keep people informed as they prepare for those exams. So awesome. Right. So we're going to move on from the certification journey to, hey, now you're certified. So what we're showing here, kind of a multi-step. Once a member of the American Boat and Yacht Council has received their certification, they're going to start kind of engaging with them from almost like a new member onboarding, right? Or an engagement campaign. And they're going to be focusing this specifically, or they are focusing this specifically on how to kind of highlight the successes, right? Because, hey, they spend a lot of time working toward these certifications. So let's make sure that they know how to promote themselves within the within the industry. So first, right off the bat, they ask, are you promoting yourself with your new certification? And they continue that process. I think it's a 10-step check-in campaign that they have. Basically, it's a drip sequence. So as soon as they've earned that certification, they get brought in, and they continue on this cycle of, kind of periodic check-ins. So you can see here some of the additional questions. There's a kind of a follow-up. Hey, you earned your certification. This one's a little bit later in the cycle, but so they have this technician, so an ABYC technician, and then they have a master technician. So it's almost like, hey, you've got this one. Do you want the next one? And you can see here, right? They got over 50% were interested in actually getting that next step in their journey because it's again highlighting the importance of earning the certifications within that specific industry and how it can benefit them later down the line. There's also, with regard to their certifications, they do have, as I'm sure many of you as well do, there's continuing education requirements, right? So one of their questions that they've reached out kind of later in the cycle as well is asking about if they're interested in learning more about continuing education courses. You can see here they had a resounding 98%. I encourage them to reach out to those 2% and say, you got to do it either way. And I think the landing page even says something like that too. But then also, right, in regard to that continuing education, making sure that they're tracking that and making sure that they're on track for that time when the renewal comes up to make sure that they've got all their CEs in line with the requirements of the certification and they know what steps they need to take along that process. And they got a 37% engagement, right? So they've already gone through the certification. They've kind of gotten that to that point of I'm done, but they continue to stay engaged with the organization. And right, that's going to help them build into that renewal cycle when that time comes because it's not kind of popping out of nowhere like, hey, thanks for paying us for the certification. Now pay us more to renew it. It's like, hey, I saw the value. I saw the engagement. I saw that this organization cares about me and my growth in this industry. So really excited. I've got another ABYC campaign to showcase later as well. But again, once they've earned that certification, take those next steps, figure out how you can continue to engage with those folks, even though they have kind of reached whatever it was that you wanted them to achieve. So, any questions or any feedback on this one? I'm speaking on behalf of the client here, so obviously I'm happy to answer what I can, but feel free to drop it in the chat, but I'll keep moving forward here. And then Anastasia, back to you. So now we're going to jump from, we did a quick pivot away from the engagement, but now we're going to talk about the renewal cycle. So now that, whether it be 1 year or 3 year, however long your certifications last, obviously there's that point of renewal. So Anastasia, did you want to come back on and talk us through your renewal campaign?
Yes. So they certify every 5 years. So we
Okay.
really, what I really need to establish is the engagement prior to this 5 years, but this is when they're in their 5th year and ready to get or ready to be expired. So we start communicating with them about 6 months in advance. So we have the list. They're not feeding in from any other list. We just have the list of people who are ready to be renewed. We enter it into the PropFuel, and then they start going into the 6-month journey. So it's, are you planning to renew your certification? We immediately learn if people are or aren't, because what we've come to find why they aren't, so many of them are retiring, and we just keep bugging them and constantly hounding these people that are never going to renew. They're never going to come back as members. They're never going to do anything. So it's great to start segmenting our list in that way so that we can actually see why they may not be renewing their certification. And then we can stop bothering them because we will hound them for the next 6 months about this. So it's great to see that. And then we also see the conversions from this as well. So we can actually see how many people actually did renew. Now, do we know that it's because of the PropFuel email? I'm not really sure, but it does help to see that they said yes, and then those people have been removed from the campaign, and then they're also tagged as a conversion once they actually are CRRN within our membership lists. So I love this because we were manually pulling these lists, removing people who renewed, adding these lists, uploading them, putting them in our systems. And this is just so much less hassle and so much nicer to actually see what's going on and why they're not renewing. Because once again, we didn't ask them that either in these other processes of what we were doing. So knowing why they aren't renewing is very helpful as well.
Yeah, and Anastasia, I hope it's okay. I pulled out. I really liked how you all kind of similar to our lapsed win back renewal campaigns, like the why not question, right?
Yeah.
You always recommend, right, in that why not, have a conversation. If they tell you, in the case, I'm retired. Well, great, congrats on your retirement. But I pulled out two here that kind of the have had a life-altering situation or a financial hardship, right? Very specific to your organization, your policy, but you laid
Mhm.
out exactly what they would need to do if that was the case, right? So if they said they had experienced some kind of financial hardship, you do have a way they can kind of continue to stay a part of that organization or continue that certification. And I just really enjoyed seeing that because it's again that conversation piece. It continues on. Don't just let them say, "Hey, this is what's wrong," and you say, "Thanks."
Yeah.
And then nothing else, right? Like, let's continue that. So, really like that. Was that kind of something that you thought of right away, or did that come later down the line?
Right. So we do have a retired and an inactive, and those are where we would like to push people that we know that we can't get them to renew their certification, but maybe we can get them in these other categories of things. So we do try to help them to get along somewhere else. The inactive status came around COVID time, but we still honor around this time. So it is something that we offer continuously. But yeah, that is definitely something whenever we first started it out is to think about ways that they can still be active within us without having to renew if they're considering not renewing.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Anastasia. I see a lot of kind of chat going on. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up. We had a good question about digital badge software, right? So I'm sure many of you have either Credly or other types of examples. So yeah, right? Like great use case of that engagement campaign. I will chime back to that ABYC. I don't think they do it specifically, but if you have Credly badges and that's something that they can take advantage of, right? That's a quick, easy, hey, congrats, you've earned your certification, follow this link to get your link or whatever it might be, right? I think Credly has a URL, but just easy ways to drive that continued engagement. And that's another little like marketing piece for you to then have your badge shown in, whether it be signatures or LinkedIn, whatever it might be. Definitely great opportunities there. Um,
Brett, just one thing on that. We had shared assessments as another client who uses Credly. This was a couple of years ago, so I don't quite remember how Credly works, but I think that you have to opt in your members before you can send them an invitation to actually even download the badge. So they
okay.
also used PropFuel to ask, hey, do you want to opt in so we can send you the badge? And they had a ton of people raise their hand and say yes. So another good example. Feel free to ask your CSM about that and we can share what that actual campaign looks like.
Yeah, Sarah, I'm happy to connect with you after this too. Right, working with Fence, happy to kind of talk through what that would look like for you all. So,
Awesome.
cool. All right. Anastasia, thanks again. We'll keep moving forward here with renewals. So this is the National Groundwater Association. So Claire, this is, I
Yeah.
think you're speaking on this one.
Yep.
Yeah, you want to take this one over for me?
Yeah, I can take it. And I know I've got some NGWA folks on here, so feel free to jump in if you'd like to. I also wanted to say I love the back and forth in the chat. I love seeing you guys like collaborate with each other. I think it's really cool. So, anyways, sidetrack. But NGWA set up a renewal campaign for the renewal of their certifications in PropFuel. Um, and one thing that I think that they did really well is obviously they started with asking the question of like, have you completed your hour or your points, hours, however you wanted to phrase it? And how have you completed them? And then depending on what someone decides to answer that with, it sent them on a different journey. So if they said, yes, I have, there's a component of the renewal where they have to submit the renewal form in order for the renewal to go through for the certification. So it guided them through a nurture to kind of encourage them to submit that form, checked in with them, saw what they might need help with to kind of push them to get that renewal submitted. So that was kind of the like continual follow-up of a renewal journey that you might see normally. And then for the no's, it sent them through kind of like the no's and those who didn't answer sent them through a journey of like where have you reached your hours yet? What opportunities are you interested in terms of reaching your education opportunities? To kind of decide how you wanted to help them reach those hours and points that they needed to. So really tailoring the process to how someone likes to learn and guiding them through the resources based on how they like to learn. One specific area is they have their national conference every year. That's a great opportunity to get those points. And so, for certain aspects of the campaign, for any opportunity where someone said they might have wanted in-person learning or event learning, guiding them as frequently as they can to that groundwater week each week or each year as well. So, really focusing kind of on the person's experience. So, starting with that general question of have you completed the hours? And then guiding them through that journey depending on if they have and making sure they renew. And if they haven't, making sure they have a really tailored experience based on what they're most interested in learning by and how they prefer to learn. So, and really good engagement rate with this campaign, also really good conversion rates in terms of those that converted over from the campaign and actually did end up renewing at the end of the year. Everyone renews their certification at the end of the year, so we're going to do it again this year, and we're excited to see how that goes. So, NGWA team, anything you want to add to this? I think they're still on here. Okay, I'm going to take that
I'm
as
gonna
a
take
no.
silence as like you nailed it, Claire.
Okay.
Kristen just
I
popped in. Sorry, this
oh
is
here too.
Sue, and I am just learning because I don't know anything about PropFuel. She has to take her son to an appointment, so she apologizes.
Yeah.
She wasn't able
No
to be
worries.
on.
Thanks,
And
Sue.
there also one other thing I'll add of a campaign that we're setting up currently is I think someone else mentioned it early on, but like kind of following where those people are that are like ready or have taken the exam and can now get their certification and really trying to like nurture that audience of people who can go get their certifications now. We're launching like a more targeted campaign towards those people within the next couple weeks to get them to get their certifications now that they've done the prep work that they need to. So lots of certification related things happening with NGWA.
Awesome. I also just have to say, and I don't know if anyone else noticed this, in terms of how would you like to renew, they have an option for fax, and I will age myself here at Millennial. I've used maybe fax machine twice or three times in my entire life, and I just love it. I think there were like 2% responses that actually did want to send in a fax, and I don't know, Sue, if you can remark on that, but would be interested to know if people have actually faxed you their renewals. But hey, give your members the option, right? You know, some people just might want to fax that in or mail it in. Let them know how to do that if so. So Clara, thank you, and Sue, thanks for the team for letting us share this one with the rest of the folks here. All right, so the next one is going to be the Minnesota Veterinary Medical Association. So we're calling this the earlier the better, highlighting, hey, maybe there's an opportunity to save some money when you do want to renew your membership, renew your certification. Claire, we're gonna just pass this one right back to you if you
Yep.
don't.
Yeah, and I don't have anyone from the NVMA team on today, but if there are any questions, certainly feel free to let me know, and I'm happy to either try and answer them or guide them to the resource as well. So similarly, they did a very similar like renewal type campaign of trying to encourage people to renew their certifications. But in this one, they took the opportunity to also let them know some of the advantages of renewing your certification. So they dropped a question in theirs about saving $10 if you renew your certification before a certain amount of time, which was a really unique way to try and get people to get those certifications renewed in a certain amount of time, basically by the end of April. Um, and then they also, it kind of like started by asking their intent in the campaign, and then they dropped this question in. So it was a good, like, little mediator in the middle of all the other questions to kind of be like, here's where you can save some money if you do renew and really encourage that. So, had really good engagement rate with this campaign. I also liked this other question that they asked throughout the campaign of what do you need to do next. So, really like trying again to understand where the person is at in their journey and how you can guide them to what they need and guide them to the right resources. So I just like the way that they phrase that one of what do you need to do next. So similarly, kind of followed that renewal type campaign, but focused on a few different questions that you could sprinkle in there to try and encourage the renewals as well. And they had a really high, like I said, engagement rate with this campaign, which is great to see too. Their first check-in, which was just a general, are you planning to renew your certification, had a 76% engagement rate. So It was a very powerful question to start with. And then to trickle some of these other kind of differently worded questions throughout, I think really benefited them also. So.
Yeah, I just want to point out, right? I love to see these high engagement rates, and I also just want to make sure everyone realizes like don't ever like think that your engagement rate, if you're not hitting 82%, is like that your campaign is not performing well. It is just a constant reminder, like every organization is different. I think Anastasia mentioned it, right? Like more people come to ARN for certifications than membership. Sorry, Anastasia, if I misspoke there, but like thinking about that, right? Your members might only be members because of certification. So, yeah, your certification campaigns might do really well, whereas you might see that kind of engagement drop a little bit from just strictly a membership standpoint. So, just that kind of reminder, right? We love to highlight these really successful campaigns, but we don't want this to be kind of an indicator for you to say, well, man, I didn't get 82%. Mine must be crap. No, like you've got great campaigns. And that's what we're here as your client success managers to do is just basically walk you through some of the strategy, right? So we can take a look at some of those campaigns that you have been running. If you do have questions, if you're like, man, these questions don't seem to be really engaging our members as much as we thought they might, reach out, let us know. And we're happy to kind of either walk through it, talk through it, understand better how we can help support that maybe heightened engagement that you could see later down the
I
line.
was just about to say the same thing, to use us to your advantage if you want
Yes.
help.
Yeah.
Reviewing questions in a campaign, we might have a different way of thinking of wording something. I'd also encourage like playing around with how you word things too. Like what do you need to do next might have been in a more formal term of like, how can we assist you with your certification today? So kind of playing with language, I think as well, to see what works and what kind of sticks with your members, is certainly something we can all help you with too. So please take advantage of having us.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Thanks, Claire, and the MVMA. So last one that I want to talk about really here today is now that, hey, renewal has come and gone, now lapsed, right? So just the same way that your memberships might lapse, certification certainly also lapse. Got it. That's a weird word for me to say. Anyways, so back to the ABYC, the American Boat and Yacht Council. So they had basically, or they're running this active campaign where once member certifications do lapse, they add them to this campaign where they ask them first and foremost, hey, are you interested in recertifying? And you can see right off the bat, 76% of those respondents said yes. So, and very similar, as I'm sure many of you have run lapsed win-back campaigns, oftentimes that first question, right? Are you aware your membership had lapsed? So these folks might not have even known that their certification did lapse. I say that very lightly. You know, how many emails have you sent prior to that renewal deadline? Make sure you do the thing. But regardless, right? Hey, even if they are interested, what are those next steps they need to take? Now that they have lapsed, there might be a different process for that individual to then recertify, whether that be they need to earn more certification or continuing education credits. There might be an additional cost associated with the recertification process. So just making sure that you lay that out very specifically to your clients or to your members with the idea that the goal is to make that communication as streamlined as possible so they're not reaching out to you with continued questions and, well, now what do I do? Well, what do I do now? And I didn't do this. What do I have to do? So try to make it as clear as possible. Those show text on landing pages are a great resource to kind of provide that detail. Send email actions as easy enough of like, hey, we're sending you this information, but as a quick follow-up, just in case you need any additional insight, here's it in your inbox and a quick way to kind of confirm what's next for them. So same way that we run lapsed member winback, you can certainly take that same idea, run it as a lapsed certification winback. So um, yeah, that's the last client example that I have here today. The last bit I wanted to just share with you all is some kind of quick product updates. So first and foremost, for anyone that is using our new website engagement product, we have a couple cool new things. If you haven't been in PropFuel lately for your website engagement, go build a campaign. But beyond that, hey, check out the new analytics dashboard. A lot of really cool detail that can help you visualize website traffic to your website. So we can basically show you, hey, here are your top 5 visited web pages. Easy way to then click through that and say, okay, well, this is a great web page. Let me build a campaign around that. So in the case of, these certifications, maybe you're finding a lot of your individuals are going to your one specific certification page. Maybe you add in a website engagement pop up there to help them facilitate that next step in their journey. So we got that. There is a new website engagement question option of contact information collection. So for those that come to your website that we do not know who they are, right? If we don't have them authenticated, we have a way for you to collect their information and then ideally kind of know who they are moving forward. And then what I like the most, we can now have header and footer content for the question. So very similar to how you build an email template where you have kind of a little bit of information before the question and maybe a little bit of information after the question, you can now build similarly in your website engagement campaigns. So that's website engagement. And then from a contacts standpoint, we are now able to merge contacts. So let's say, I know Claire is like, yes, thank you, it's finally happened. So we have ways to merge contacts. So let's say you have, sort of duplicates of some sort. You can now go into those contacts and merge based on kind of contact record. I think usually it's based on the email address. But basically, if you have kind of outdated data in the contact, you can make sure that it is merged and only updating with the new information. And we can also permanently delete members, not to make things morbid, but let's say your members pass away and you're like, these people will never be in a campaign again and they're just living in PropFuel. You have ways that you can permanently delete contacts as well through the contact directory. There's obviously plenty of other reasons beyond passing away that you might want to permanently delete someone from your campaign directory. So just know those are some options. As with anything, we here as your client success managers are more than happy to walk you through any of those steps. I don't know if we have any help desk articles on these yet because they're very brand new. I think just yesterday we announced these two new options here. But like I said, always happy to help answer any of those questions. And with that, I think we are, 4 minutes left. So happy to kind of open up the table here to anyone. If you have any questions or any kind of additional insights, we'd love to hear. Claire's got her hand raised. If you've got any ideas kind of from today's conversation of any ideas that you want to do and implement into your campaigns, would love to hear it. But Claire, we'll start
I
with
have
you.
a question for the group, and I'm just interested in what you guys, if you've run into this before. Obviously, you use like renewal the same way. So you would use renewal for dues renewals and then also for certification renewals. Do you ever find that your members get confused between that renewal language and how do you handle that? Like, do you call both renewals or do you have a different way you call the certifications? I'm just curious if you've got any confusion from your members when renewing. I know some renewals happen, certification renewals happen at the end of the year, and some people might also renew the membership on January 1. So just curious if there's any thoughts there on if you've had any confusion from members in the past and how you handled it.
We never had any confusion. I think it's branded differently. It's targeted to specific people who are getting their certification. I think it's very clear it's about their certification. So we never really had any issues with membership versus CR. And now people don't know that they're not members if they're not a certified person. And that's a whole other situation that we deal with. But just in the renewal process, I don't think that there's been confusion.
And
Yeah, I think I saw recertify used once too, which is a good way to think about it also. So yeah.
And I saw that in Anastasia in your campaigns, right? Your header image for your template was like a CRRN header image, whereas the other one was, or I think for your other membership, it's just the ARN notification.
And our from line is from the certification as
Great,
well.
yeah.
So we make sure that it doesn't say ARN. But
Yeah.
again, that's a branding situation that we're kind of dealing with right now where we're like, is it too far from ARN where they don't know that that's part of the brand?
Yeah.
So we do have that in the works as well, but it's
Awesome.
helped so far.
Cool. Any other thoughts or any questions, any inspiring ideas that came from today? Sarah said so many ideas. Sarah, let's set some time. Let's chat, you and me. We'll figure it out. What else? Anyone else? Oh, and there's Anastasia's email. So if anyone wanted to connect, I guess. Thanks, Anastasia. Perfect. Well, if there's no questions, I don't want to hold you all for the 2 minutes hostage here. I could maybe tell a dad joke, but I'm going to leave that to Dave. So I'll let him continue that one forever. But just want to thank you all again. Look out for an email. Bruna, our client success coordinator, who's on a call today with us, she's going to be helping to send out our follow-up email, which will have a copy of the recording from today. And then look out for our next workshop. So that'll be more of an hands-on, engaging workshop in July for AI. So we're going to talk all things kind of AI settings and PropFuel, how to best utilize the AI features in PropFuel to heighten and engage your members. But with that, just want to thank you all again. It's been great seeing you all. Thank you for the engagement. I should send a PropFuel check-in right now. No, I'm just kidding. But if you need anything from us, reach out, let us know. Otherwise, hope you all have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, bye.